So welcome to another game. So hopefully we're gonna get black pieces this time. This is gonna be still the try. Yes, we are getting black pieces. So we are going to play either c5 for Sicilian Khan, or we are going to play the e5 system for Phillidor. But with e3 from Kreuz opening, I believe, we are definitely going to try with e5, Queen g4. So I believe this is one of those games where we're playing against 1200 rated player, and they are testing us from the beginning. So I will keep this game as the one that would be with the Phillidor structure, because yeah, it makes more sense to play here e5 rather than to play a c5 move. So this is e5, this is c5, and yeah, so I believe the Phillidor is gonna get some easy score for this game, because this early development should give us advantage. We are getting nice development in the center. We are hitting the queen with the bishop. The opponent must be wondering, why are we spending so much time on our move? And this is going to be probably like a very short upload, because yeah, white has just broke all the rules of development. They developed their queen out early, where the queen wasn't attacking anything to begin with, and now they are letting us to capture the queen. So and the game was abandoned, so we are not even going to count this game. So we are going to open a new game. So yes, this I didn't even know how to approach that kind of opening. So hopefully our opponent didn't lose any points, because yeah. So here I should have played c5, because when we play e4 I should play more c5 type of position, so we will get the Khan. But I just, in the heat of the moment of what just happened, now we are going to play the Phillidor type of position. And if white plays bishop c4, we will straight away, we can play e5, but the problem here is that maybe he can play queen h5, and then it's not ideal, because then I will have to play g6, and it will be slightly different pawn structure than I intend to have. So instead of playing e5 straight away, I will play knight f6 to take away the queen h5, queen f3 moves. And also I'm counter-attacking this pawn here. And now when the d3 was played, I will play into that Phillidor's pawn structure that we want to have. Always in those types of positions you need to be careful about the f7 pawn, so just carefully plan your moves before you allow some shenanigans for the white. So white is pinning our knight, but that goes with our plan with bishop e7. I don't believe we want to be capturing with the queen on f6, so what we are going to do, we are going to play simply bishop e7, breaking the pin. Eventually also, if the knight was to jump onto d5, we have this additional tactic where we take on d5, attacking the bishop. So if the bishop takes us, we take back with the knight, and we are going to win a piece. It's a very common tactic, so if you are doing puzzles you will be very familiar with that. White plays h3 because they don't like our bishop to develop in the position a bit more. And I feel whilst this position is the way it is, we can start doing the moves that we want to be doing, which is getting more space in the center, either with a push of d5 or b5, which is what I kind of like about this Phillidor pawn structure, that we get lots of options with regards to attack on the queen side. So white is playing a4, which makes sense. And I believe we don't have to support the pawn on e5 yet. But when you think about this opening, what I really like about it is that if you play e4 and straight away e5, then the battle is really difficult because you are giving white some target on e5 first. But if you sort of prepare the Phillidor's position first, then you are getting oftentimes, if white doesn't play correctly, the opportunity to seize the center. So that's exactly what we want to do here. But I actually wonder if I want to play straight away d5 or if I want to castle first. I believe the castling is the good option here. Because if I play d5, I'm allowing also this check on b5, and this bishop is potentially going to be a bad bishop, so that's why I decide to castle first. Because I also don't want to highlight any, if I play a6, to show my plans. White probably wants to grab the center for themselves. But now is the time to grab the center ourselves. And also, given the moves that white played, we have a better development even though we are having a black pieces. Because we have captured the center, we have two pieces developed just like white, even though we are making them move one extra time, and we already castled. So that allows us, once we get this type of advantage in development, that allows us to just pressure the enemy's king even quicker. So white is from Australia or New Zealand. The flag looks very familiar, and they have about 1134 rating, so not too dissimilar to what we have already played. So what we want to do, we want to obviously keep on developing our pieces. We have now a nice spot for the knight onto c6. We can develop the bishop possibly onto f5. We can also get the rook out. So it's just more about determining which is the best move for us at this very moment. And I believe the rook on e is something that we want to begin with. Also, by playing the c3 move, then you limit yourself to a knight d2 development. And bishop on b3 gives us some chances and at some point to play queen to a5. Also, this pawn on a4 doesn't seem to be doing so much harm as it was intended. It was just to prevent the b5 push when our pawn was on c6. But we can always just grab the center. So I'll start with rook e8. We have wasted already almost 4 minutes of our time. So I need to be careful not to make a mistake like I did in the previous games. with pushing, just basically making a mistake in the phase where the time pressure ensued. So we just need to be a bit more careful, you know, not to repeat the same mistakes in the time pressure. So at the moment, white is attacking the pawn, we are protecting the pawn. Next we will be developing our bishop, and we will then decide where is our queen gonna go as well. So white castles, so that's fine. Now we are going to start putting slight pressure on the d3 pawn. We are also going to see what is black's plan with regards to their pieces. What I believe also we can do is to try and ask the question of the light square bishop, because if we get this g5 bishop for the knight, then I believe we are already getting some real advantage. So it's either between bishop f5 or h6, and I believe the h6 is better, because after bishop f5, if we want this bishop on this diagonal, then first of all, after taking and taking, he will no longer have knight h4, and second of all, if I play bishop f5 straight away, then some knight h4s could be a little bit annoying. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to play h6 first. Luckily, this chessboard is not a touch move, but I had an accident as well where I made a mistake. Oh, I just had a little fly here. So I need to wash my hands after the game. Okay, so now is the time to develop our bishop. We might encounter some pressure against our e4 pawn in the future, but I believe we can also try and push the e4 ourselves and go into an endgame, which is not, at the moment it doesn't look like the best endgame for us. If we get like space and we have no weaknesses on the enemy side of the board, so it's I don't know, at the moment it doesn't look like we have that much of an advantage, but as a black I'm sure we have definitely equalized in this position. There are still some issues actually. When you grab the center, it can be attacked, and at the moment, like white is attacking on the d5 with the bishop, on the e5 he's putting pressure with the knight. So we will try and avoid pushing our pawns forward, if possible. And I don't think white is playing as bad as some of the other players. So rook e1 is a logical move, wants to develop the rook, at the same time attacking the weaker pawn on e5, and we actually have a slight issue with this, because it might force us to move the pawn, push the pawn forward. Also, if I play a move like bishop c5, white can maybe already take on e5 themselves, and there is that pressure on both sides with regards to this bishop on b3, so we might need to open that bishop a little bit. And we might actually also allow some trades when we push the pawn forward. And yes, I don't see a way how to avoid pushing the pawn forward. So there will probably be some trades, and we might have some issue with the e4 pawn eventually. So even though we have grabbed the center and we have developed, I don't see a way how to hold the center. Because, for example, if I play bishop d6, he can take here. If I take back with the queen, I'm losing pawn on d5. If I play bishop c5, then there's the knight e5 move, which could be annoying. But bishop c5, actually, knight takes e5. And with bishop c5, also there's the thing that he can take on f6, and then we have to double up the pawns with the pawn g takes f6, so we still keep an eye on this pawn. But I feel like this is exactly what we are going to do right now. We still will be forced most likely to push the pawn to e4, but I believe we will want to try and keep this bishop active on this diagonal. If we get pushed to c7, that is also fine. There could be an issue actually with the move like d4, which is something that I maybe slightly underestimated, but then again, yeah, d4 actually looks like a good strike for white. Yeah, I think I didn't look at the d4 in more detail. So if he plays d4 and I take, he's got rook e8, queen e8. Then bishop f6, g takes f6. And then after cd4, we might be losing the d5 pawn. So yes, I think we already made a mistake. So now we need to look at how to best avoid losing the game. And the problem is that double pawn now is gonna be, it's not gonna be really pretty. But then again, there might be some compensation down the line. So this opening didn't really work out for me. I have missed d4 move, and now I have to pay for it. If I play g5, knight g5, g5 is actually a one way how to try and hold that position a little bit together. It's very risky. So after knight g5, we have ed4. And there's bishop. Yeah, it's gonna get complicated, but I'm going to go for these complications. You might say I is a crazy person, and you will be right in this very scenario. White is going to go into a scenario where they are winning the pawn. But that's totally fine. We can find consolation in the fact that we have well-placed, well-positioned pieces, and now we have the open G file. The question is, where shall we place our bishop? It looks like the bishop should be still on this long diagonal. The bishop is now being attacked, so you drop the bishop back. So out of the opening, we are probably going to be losing this game. White is playing really nice game again. We are, however, going to try and put some pressure on white pieces as soon as it's practically possible. So I place knight to d2, which is a move that we may say is predictable. I feel like right now what we are going to try and do is to counterattack on this side of the board. So we will try and do that with the move rook c8. The problem is we have 4 minutes and 50 seconds, so I might need to start making like a really fast moves, and hopefully they will be of better quality than last time around. For us, the most critical pawn is the pawn on d5. If we lose that pawn, this could be a big problem for us. So white is doing still the right moves. But what we might actually try and do is like a little trickery with knight d7. But first, before we do that, we will have to play king to h8, which is important also so we don't get checked, and white then does not protect this knight with a check, basically. So what I want to do is to play knight d7 to threaten this pawn, but at the same time threaten the knight with my queen. What white is going to do, probably, he's going to push the pawn onto b4, which is a good move, and I should have maybe prevented it. Yeah, I should have prevented it with the move a5. I feel like we can play move knight to e4. But we don't like that there will be a capture on e4 themselves. So. And the rook g8 already is running into b5. So what I'm going to try and pretend is that I don't like them to play the pawn to b5, so I'm going to try and prevent that, which I know that I cannot prevent. So unfortunately, in this position, the way I played it, both of these pawns caused me more trouble than I would have expected, and it's most likely I'm going to lose this game the way it has been played so far. Knight goes to f3, putting more pressure onto e5, which is actually not a bad move for us to face. What we need to do is to protect the d5 pawn and e4 pawn at the same time. So I believe this can be done with the strange looking knight e4 move. Because if bishop d5, we have knight takes c3. If queen d5, we still have knight takes c3. But also a move like bishop e4 looks positively good. I feel knight e4. We are low on time again. Time and time again, low on time. So knight to e4. We will not be attacking that pawn anymore. So I think we will play bishop to e4 first. Try and hold the position together. So it's protecting the pawn, at the same time it's indirectly protecting this pawn. White plays bishop b1, which is a fine move. And what I want to do in this position is to place my queen here, so to avoid any trades. We have 2 minutes left, and if white takes on e4, we are going to recapture with the pawn. The idea is to try and trap the pawn, the knight on e4. Oh gosh, yeah, okay. He will have knight to f5 at some point, and queen to d2 might be also a problem. So we take back with the pawn because we want to avoid any. We want to also disconnect this knight. Now the knight is being trapped. But he's not being trapped indefinitely because he can jump onto f5, which he does straight away, and it's a fair play for white. So what we need to do is to protect our queen in g5. Knight h4 to be expected. Now we need to place one of our rooks on the open file. There's no way around it. Queen to c1, that's a move that was expected. And it's leading already into slight trouble for us, so we need to... Yeah, we are totally losing this game, but against a 1134 player, I think he's playing very good game. We are losing pawn on e4 at the moment. Unfortunately for us, there is not much counterplay. What we're gonna do, we are going to try and grab at least some space in the center. Actually, this looks like do we want to grab the knight, or do we not want to grab the knight? If we don't grab the knight, then he is going to play the other one onto f5. We're definitely grabbing this knight. He takes with the pawn. And that will be very dangerous for us. We're still lacking the, our pieces are so disconnected. So we will try and pretend that we want that back. We would need ideally to play on the G file, but it's just not happening. The B5 move doesn't bother us so much because we have eventually jump on B3, but what we don't have is time. The time looks terrible for us. We are losing on time at the moment. We have 1 minute left. Opponent has a lot more time than us, let's put it mildly. The idea now is to play just simply knight b3, capture some material back if possible. Our position is totally detonated, but we have still some possibilities to turn it around. But how to say it without saying it, we are really desperate in this position. The knight is doing good defense here. And I can see some counterplays with f5 pawn, and obviously the knight b3 is one of them, rook takes d6 is one of them. We need to keep this pawn as like the most important pawn for us right now. So even though we are losing, it's not going to be a fight lost with a lost fight without the fight. Queen goes here, which is fine. And I feel we should at least transfer our knight onto better square. So we are going to use two quick moves to try and gain some time to transfer the knight to c5. b1, knight c5. Pawn takes. There's no time to lose. We need to use those 10 seconds to get some time back where possible, if possible. Rook b6, so I think, don't like it, but we need to give that rook back. Can't let them keep that dangerous pawn. So whatever happened here happened. It's all good to go. So even though we are lacking that rook, we are having some possibilities. And possibilities we have. So knight goes to f5, which is absolutely fine. We're going to attack the knight with queen. Possibly I should have attacked the knight slightly better than that. Knight goes to g3, we will go to f6 to keep everything together. We're then going to try and push this forward. And white just makes a big blunder. We are winning the knight for free. So never give up your fights, even if you know, you're thinking your opponent is cheating, or you know, there could be still a chance in those fights. I think rook f1 there makes most sense. Or maybe rook e2, actually. Rook e2 looks like the best move in that position, but we will already be putting lots of pressure. Now I feel king f1. I don't like that move so much. But the question is, yes, we are going to take here. Luckily we have everything protected at the moment, so if yeah, white is making another desperate move and it's another mistake, so I believe we can... Oh, white is actually resigning. So yes, I think this was an example of a really bad Phillidor defense, and we were really lucky here. We are winning the rook. We can also check first, which I was considering, then give another check. And potentially, if the queen offers on f2, we take the queen, king takes the queen. Oh, I can actually show it. So this was my idea of the play here to finish the game. If the queen f2 comes, then I'm not capturing the rook, I'm first capturing the queen, and then I play knight d3 check, and that helps me to capture the rook and the game is over. So that's why probably my opponent resigned. If you know, white doesn't play queen f2 there and instead plays some king move, then I would be obviously capturing the rook with my own queen, and that should have concluded the game as well. But this was a really tough game, and I mean, I'm really impressed how players at the 1100 range or 1200 range, how well they play these days. And obviously I play a little bit worse, maybe because I play on the chessboard, maybe because I get myself into time pressures, but with all those maybes, yeah, we always try our best at any positions that we are given or that we steer ourselves into. And yeah, so Phillidor defense has 1 point. Next I will try and go for the Sicilian, and I will see you in the next video.